Induction Day.
So a quick little story here. I was talking to Michael Klug earlier this year and a little bit last year, and I said, we're talking about pins for pole position, and when he got his done, he showed them to me, and he sent me some, and I'm like, wow, those are fantastic. Can you help me put together a pin for the Hall of Fame? So we talked about it, sent him the artwork, and so we got our pins done, and he showed them to me. He sent me a picture, and just, you know how a picture doesn't do anything justice, but it was wow. So we went on, and he orders these, and he gets them, and I said, how much do I owe you? I want to settle up. And he says, it's a gift. So Michael Klug and the induction pins and the member pins, thank you. So each of the past inductees are going to get one. This now makes them official. I consider them ambassadors. They are speaking on behalf of the Hall of Fame, the museum, and all things gaming, because we all believe in it, we're passionate about it, and we just want to tell the world what we're doing here. So wear it proudly, guys. All right, with that, I think it's time to get underway. What do you say? Should we induct some great achievements, some great players, some great developers from all over the country, shall we? Without further ado, Mr. Billy Mitchell.
So they just did the
Carrie Swidecki is a multiple
induction,
Guinness World Record holder, best known for setting
the ambassador
the overall
induction.
longest video game marathon of all time by playing Just Dance 2015 for 138 hours. Thought I'd let that sink in a little bit. So what is that?
So those are the pins that you get
6
when you
days,
become
7
an inductee.
days.
So now that I'm an inductee and I'm an ambassador,
Carrie's become an advocate.
I need to get to work and I
fighting
need to cover this.
childhood
I'm going to be introducing Justin Wong's induction.
Gaming, which are
A
video
big,
games
big
that promote exercise.
honor. And I'm glad to do it for him.
18 years,
This guy's put in a lot of work for EMP. He's literally our first captain commander and helped put the team on the map. So this one's for you, Jay.
World records. Carrie Swidecki.
Well, thank you, Lonnie, for that wonderful speech, introduction, you and Billy. It's really quite an honor to be an inductee in the International Video Game Hall of Fame. Today, history is being made. It's representing boundaries being broken for women in gaming. Being the second woman to be inducted into the International Video Game Hall of Fame is just historical, and it's opening up doors for more women to come and do extraordinary things in gaming. But on top of that, I've become the first gamer from the sport of extra gaming that I love so much to be inducted into this International Video Game Hall of Fame. And extra gaming covers the genre of music games, dance rhythm games, motion sensing dance games, fitness games, and today we have opened the door for more people in that genre to do extraordinary things to be here. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a teacher by day, but this journey began 18 years ago. It's hard to imagine that 18 years ago I was obese, and somehow I became a multi-Guinness World Record holder, and I'm standing here today being inducted into the International Video Game Hall of Fame. 18 years ago, I had gained 90 pounds within 6 years from graduating from high school. I went from being a 120-pound athlete to being obese, a plus size 18, 20, and 210 pounds after graduating from college, UC Santa Barbara. And I was at a pretty low point in my life, and I had thought that the best of my years were already achieved in high school. I can't get any better than this. And one day I went to the donut shop to buy a chocolate donut, and there was an arcade next door, and I heard this thumping sound in there. And I thought, that sounds really interesting. I'm gonna go check out what that sound is, all that music. And I saw this game called Dance Dance Revolution. And I thought, gee, it doesn't look like anybody is looking. I think I might give it a chance and play it. But I was really self-conscious of my weight because I had gained so much weight. And I decided to throw away that donut that day, and I put some tokens in there, and I quickly died after 10 steps, and some gentleman was watching, and he looked at me, and he pointed at me, and he chuckled, "You suck." And it hit a chord with me that day. And I went home. I just moved home living with my mom. And she kept all my trophies from when I played tennis and soccer, ran cross country. And I said, that's it, Mom. One day I'm going to be a Dance Dance Revolution champion. And she had no idea what the heck I was talking about. But I made a determination that day that I was going to show that kid that I could play the game. And I went back every day dreaming of taking 3rd place in the local Dance Dance Revolution tournament. Just hoping I could, praying, but in reality I never thought I could. But that desire to show him that I could play, in the process I lost 75 pounds and went down 10 sizes, and finally in the year 2009, I finally took 3rd place in the local Dance Dance Revolution tournament. It took me 9 years, and I won $3 that day, and went to Costco and bought a hot dog and a Coke, and it was the greatest moment of my life. And you know, I'm not mad at that gentleman. One day I want to thank him, and he still plays Dance Dance Revolution Arcade. I still play it too for 18 years. Started when I was 23, now I'm 42. One day I want to thank him, because he woke me up that day, and he gave me a purpose in life. And he also helped me discover my passion. And once I achieved that 3rd place in the tournament, it became less about me and more what I could do with it. My journey with Dance Dance Revolution and Extra Gaming began at the same time with my career as a teacher. I've been doing them both just as long. And I decided that I lost all this weight, I'm gonna write grants, and I'm gonna get it into the schools. And I've won over $10,000 worth of grants for extra gaming equipment in my classroom, video game equipment, over 9 years. And I decided to implement Dance Dance Revolution on a PS2 through donorschoose.org in my classroom. And I saw this excitement that I'd never seen with kids with physical education. Before it was like, oh, do we really have to do basketball? Do we really have to run the track? Someone be excited. Someone, I don't want to do this, it's no fun. And we started playing Dance Dance Revolution. They couldn't get there fast enough. They were moving and grooving. Can I pick the song today? Can we do the Disney mix one today? Parents were calling me up and saying, are you really playing video games in the classroom? I said, absolutely. And they love it. Can I come down there with you too? And they would come down there and play. And I said, we've got something special happening here. Something special. And that's when I decided to set my first world record. And I decided that I was going to set a marathon world record to show people that not only can it make you incredibly fit, I wanted to show teachers was really who I was targeting, but I wanted to show them that it can give you incredible strength to go for a long amount of times. I wanted to educate them that every teacher should have video games in their classroom for physical education because it's the language of today. And so the kids, I decided, I was already demoing for Konami. They were traveling around the world talking to politicians because I had wrote to them about what I was doing in the classroom. And I told them, I sat down with them in Texas, and I had just got done talking to the governor of Texas and lots of politicians, and I said, did you guys know I'm going to set a world record in 3 months? I'm going to set the world record for the longest marathon on Dance Dance Revolution. I've already been training for 3 months, and I know I can do it. I'm at 12 hours, and the world record's currently set at 13 hours, but my goal is 16 hours. And they said, really? And I said, yeah, I'm going to do it to educate educators. And they said, okay. And when I flew home the next day, I had an email already waiting for me, and they said, tell whoever you're going to do it with in Bakersfield, we're sponsoring you. And they sponsored me to set it at the U.S. Obesity Prevention Summit in Charleston, West Virginia, where I got to set it in front of educators from all around the world. And they put the Dance Dance Revolution Supernova 2 machine right in the center of the entrance. And as everybody came in, they got to watch my world record live. And I got to talk to them and interact with them and tell them why we need these in the schools. And it was the greatest moment of my life. They even flew out the Guinness World Record adjudicator, the only time I've ever had a Guinness World Record adjudicator there live. He became my best friend that day. I will never forget his name. And I said, you're here witnessing the greatest moment of my life. I go, you're my best friend. And when I hit the 13th hour, I knew that I had hit something that no one had ever been to before. I'd reached uncharted territory. And I started crying. Every time when I hit that moment, that goal, when I break the world record, I always start crying in the middle of my world records because I'm like, I did it. Now we're going to hit that goal mark. And everyone starts crying with me. I usually have a team around me. And I said, this is really special. And once I hit, the rules were every 5 hours you move up a level. And once I hit the hard level, nobody had ever made that to in a marathon format. And I became the first person. I said, I've reached uncharted territory. This is incredible. And we did it. And we made it to over 15 hours. And it was the greatest moment of my life. And every time I set in and I do a world record, it feels like the very first time when I set it. It feels like the very first day when I've set into an arcade and stepped on a machine for the very first time. And today, it's hard for me to believe that it's been 18 years since I started playing that game, and somehow it evolved into motion sensing dance games with Just Dance and setting the overall longest video game marathon of all time. It just feels like yesterday in my eyes. So for me to be here today and having the impact that my world records have had with opening the door, getting that dialogue started with education, and making a textbook adoption this year, and actually being in 6th grade level readers across America, and having children read it, and raising over $100,000 for charity with all my world records, and loaning my name and being at events and doing marathons for them, for the Children's Hospital, so they can reach their fullest potential. Being in 9 Guinness World Record books as of 3 weeks ago, and setting 12 marathon world records after being obese and laughed at is absolutely incredible. So thank you for this moment, and it's an honor to represent women in gaming and extra gaming.
Prepare to qualify.
It's good to be back here in Ottumwa. Back in 1984, I was invited here because I had the world record using my hands.
Step closer.
And ended up getting a 3rd place score with my feet. The world record changes you. From that moment forward, you feel that there are no limits to what is possible within yourself and everyone else. Pole position was a fun game to play. Today, when pursuing a classic world record, you already know how high you must reach, or in some cases, how many days you must stay awake. In the 80s, who didn't know how many steps there were to the top of the mountain? We just kept climbing. Les Legier and I reached that summit together. To borrow a favorite phrase from Joel West, iron sharpens iron. It was the drop of a single quarter that changed my life forever. I had fallen just short by just 50 points on pole position at all previous Guinness contests. At the final event, there was one more chance. Pole position 2. With just minutes remaining, I played just one game and a world record. My name was in the Guinness book. My father could not have been prouder. He handed me a stack of money to purchase several dozen books for our relatives. But somebody at Atari also bought a copy of the book. I got the call. Hi, this is Sandy Brown from Atari. We see that you have a high score in one of our games. Would you like to come in and be a game tester? Okay, who is this really? Her voice didn't sound like any of my mother's friends. Of course, I'll be there tomorrow. At Atari, our president, Steve Calfee, had a bonus job, herding cats, also known as managing the young test group. Eventually, I marched into his office and declared, "Tell them they have to listen to me." The next day, I was promoted. He said, "They are your problem now." It was time for me to create a testing department, which at Atari meant creating a family. The people at the company saw something in me, that there are no limits, and I looked for the same thing in every person I hired. As a gamer, I enjoyed thousands of hours playing hundreds of games. At first, it was only me. One controller, a few buttons, one small screen. With 8-bit graphics, your imagination was important as the developers. Then I played as part of a group, crammed together in a single room, more buttons, but still one screen. 3D graphics, more of their imagination on the screen, and more of your imagination too, not less. The new challenge was to keep track of your teammates and opponents in multiplayer games. Now, on a virtual couch, with players from all over the world, using a handful of buttons or just your fingertips. High-resolution screens as big as the room or as small as your pocket. The game is no longer held back by graphics, sound, controllers, and number of players. The only limit is the gamer's imagination, which has no limits. I've been playing games since the 80s, and I will keep playing until I'm in my 80s. That has included Grand Theft Auto recently. It was the most popular game of its time. I was #1 on the leaderboard because of my team, the Hit Squad. We ruled the online world of Liberty City. We took on all challengers and won 90% of our games. Seriously consider when choosing your own gamer tag, unless you want everybody calling you by the name Pole. I got to play on one side of the coin, or in this case a token, and work on the other. As a member of many development teams, I had the privilege to work on hundreds of games that were enjoyed by millions of gamers. It is something special we get to do. The work of a few creates enjoyment for the masses. The development team works for months or years on a project. We share our lives, we share a vision. Is it as fun as we think it will be? Will anyone want to buy it? Then it is kicked out of the nest to fly, to soar. No project is complete until it is shared with the rest of the team, the gamers. For them, time to play. For us, on to the next project. Then at Konami, another department, another family to create. We spend most of our lives at work. Relationships are gained and lost. We keep in touch, we lose touch. Don't assume the opportunity will always be there. Stay connected. I was very lucky. Because of my position, I worked with almost everyone in the company. I can't name them all, but I must thank many. At the arcade where it all started, Wayne Coombs, the idea man, he also saw something in me. Les Razier, always a partner, never an enemy. We could not have done it without each other. Walter Day, he created and inspires the Twin Galaxies worldwide community, all of us near and far. At Atari, Elaine Shirley, kind to everyone, especially to me, even before I worked there. Alex Rudis, the smartest person I know. Dan Van Eldren, our leader. Steve Calfee, the man who ran the shop. Bill Hindorf, always giving, always helping. Mitzi McGilvray kept us laughing with a joke for any and every occasion. Linda Stackpole had a personal interest in everyone. Randy Burlight, he was the president, I was only a tester. To each other, we were always equals. Ed Logg, or as Steve calls him, the Babe Ruth of video games. He had the most home runs because he also had the most strikeouts. Mikey Alexander, my RBI baseball compadre. Howard Lair, a student and teacher of game design. Chris Tang, his home is a gamer museum, his mind a gaming encyclopedia. Jeff Yonan, the first day it was just you and me, my first team at Atari. Mike Taylor, inspiring everyone to shoot for the stars. Deborah Geyer, like a second mother to everyone. At Konami, Kari Minagawa, a mentor, providing endless support. Yashki Ariashki, he gave me lessons about more than management, about life. Keith Mateka, Mr. Enthusiasm. Kurt Busch, possible problems, catastrophes, nothing stressed out Kurt. At Namco, David Schwartz, the serious businessman with a heart of gold. Danny Pisano, a pillar in a storm of constant chaos. Katie Welka, an idea every day, and laughter more often than that. In classic gaming, Paul Dean, a world record holder and inductee that became a best friend. My online gaming team, James Brooks, Otto Hilton, Jerome Harrison, Josh Strausser. Friends from the gaming industry. Victor Machia, he always tells it like it is. Michael Garber, the two of us were quite the multiplayer team. Musicians also have the privilege of creating countless hours of enjoyment for the times of our lives and forever. For me, the timeless bands are Rush, Joe Satriani, Pink Floyd, and my family. My father, I can only hope to love as he did. My sister Kathy, I didn't know myself until we knew each other. And her family, Rick, Amy, and Caitlin. She is not here today, but she will always be with me, Carrie. Each moment contains an aspect of eternity. These moments, these people, shape the course of my life. Once again, thank you and everybody at the Hall of Fame.
Bill, you earned that $500. I actually wrote a speech, although I have no idea if I'll actually follow it or not. Thank you, Bill, for that. It's very, slightly for me, a little uncomfortable to hear people praise me like that. It's not why I do anything that I do. I am certainly grateful that people are still talking about Q*bert 35 some odd years later. It's not something I ever thought would happen with that particular game. As you saw, I actually have a fairly long and storied career in the video game industry. About half of it, 13 years in the arcade industry, and about half of it in the home game industry. And I have to say that the thing that I appreciate the most about my own career was a couple of things. One is how lucky I was. I never thought, coming out of college with an engineering degree, that I would ever be able to make video games. I mean, video games were very new. In fact, I think the Space Wars came out when I was a freshman in college. So I didn't grow up with video games, and they were very new in my life. But when I graduated with a computer engineering degree, I thought, oh, making video games, that would be the coolest job ever. But how do you get that job? You have to be smart, or you have to know somebody, and I didn't think I was any of that. So it was very odd for me a few years later, after working as an engineer for Bell Laboratories for about 3 years, I saw an ad in the Sunday paper. And that's how I got my job, making video games, full Goddard. I was very lucky. And Q*bert was my first game. It was actually the second game, technically, because I did work, I helped out on this other game. And then it was my turn to make a game. And Gottlieb said, all right, make a game. We don't know what a good game is at the time. Nobody really knew what a good game was. They were just too new. So, and God bless them, these guys who were running the company gave me the freedom, and they gave all of us who were working there the freedom to design the games we wanted to, or just do whatever we wanted. And Q*bert came out as a result of that. Q*bert was what I call an evolutionary game. I didn't start out with a master plan to make this game. It started out as a programming exercise. I wanted to teach myself how to program randomness and gravity. And one day, when I saw this pattern of cubes that Jeff Lee had created for somebody else, and it filled the screen, it was just a repeating pattern, a very small repeating pattern that filled the screen, I thought, well, if I carved that into a pyramid and something fell on it, it would have one of two choices of how to bounce. And that's binary. And, you know, that's, programmers like binary. And then I thought, well, and of course, then it would have to fall. They would have to fall with gravity, and I had never programmed gravity. So to me, it was just a programming exercise. And then every step of the way, once something got done, I was like, all right, what should I do next? And that was my mantra when I was making Q*bert. What's next? Kind of became the mantra for my career. But I'm thrilled to be here. By the way, Jerry told me my speech had to be at least 30 minutes, so I hope bear with me. I'm happy to be in Ottumwa, by the way. This is my first trip to Ottumwa. And of course, I've known about Ottumwa for my entire career. Since I started in 1982, you know, Twin Galaxies, Walter Day certainly was known to me. But it's a thrill to be here. I can't tell you how excited I am to actually see this place in person for the first time in my life. So I want to tell you about a couple of these pictures. That picture down on the bottom is the only picture I have of me developing Q*bert. I'm sitting in front of something called a blue box. That's what we developed it on. Part of that picture has been cut out. I guess it was cropped, but there's some other cool stuff I would have shown you. And this picture up top represents the last game I worked on in my arcade career. Q*bert was the first one I did by myself. Of course, I did have an artist, Jeff Lee, who created the graphics, and Dave Thiel did the sound. But that's Tom Hamilton from Aerosmith. We had Aerosmith in our blue screen studio for 3 13-hour days to shoot video of them using my digitizing system to put them in the game Revolution X. So that's why I picked those pictures, because it kind of goes from one thing to another. I was very fortunate in my entire career to have freedom. One thing Qbert did for me is it let management trust me, and then they left me alone. And I could do pretty much whatever I wanted. And in most of the games I worked on, when I moved to Williams, I had to prove myself, but it took some time, and I did. So freedom is just something I don't take for granted. It was a real blessing, and I'm very grateful to have had that, and it helped me. And I was also very fortunate, just the timing of coming into an industry that was still being formulated, where we were making the rules. There were no rules. So a lot of it was just luck and timing, good timing. But nobody works in a vacuum, and I do want to thank a lot of the people who helped me throughout my career. So I'm going to start naming a lot of names and telling you little stories about these people. I'm going to put this up here. The two men who started the video division at Gottlieb, their names are Ron Waxman, he was the Vice President of Engineering, and Howie Rubin was the Vice President of Business Development. Both of these guys were characters. Ron was a big, large, rotund man, very gruff. If you met him, you thought you'd want to run the other direction. He just seemed like he didn't like you automatically. But he was a real pussycat underneath. And he smoked a cigar. He would often sit behind us as we worked, and he would say, you would just hear him breathing like Darth Vader, when he had this cigar in his mouth. And he was the guy who one night, while I was just playing around with this orange guy jumping around my screen on cubes, avoiding balls, and he said, what if the cubes change colors when he lands on them? I said, wow, that's a good idea. So I took that idea, and anyway, so he was a fantastic guy to work for. Howie Rubin was a crazy, out-of-the-box guy. Howie Rubin would say, he'd come into the office in the middle of the day, he said, all right, everybody stop working. We're going out in the plant, we're going to play football. That was Howie Rubin. And Howie Rubin was the guy who wanted the swearing marquee, or the swearing balloon, the cursing balloon, he wanted that to be the name of Qbert. That was his doing. So he was a really amazing guy. Both of those guys created the environment in which a game like Qbert could be made. Tim Skelly, I don't know if you know the name, he's a guy who could be here in the International Video Game Hall of Fame. He created many hit games for Cinematronics, and then Gottlieb hired him away to be sort of our guru. And he was kind of my first mentor, because I knew nothing about video games, and he was working on the game Reactor. So the game Reactor was released right around the time I was working on Qbert, or just began. My Qbert collaborators were instrumental in my career. Jeff Lee, who did all of the video graphics, created the character of Qbert, and we also worked together on many other games. We worked on Faster, Harder, More Challenging Qbert, obviously. Worked on Us vs. Them, that Laserdisc game you heard about. Also on a redemption game called Lotto Fun, and Exterminator a few years later. So, and Dave Thiel created the sounds for Qbert. So both of these guys, we were definitely a team. Us vs. Them, I collaborated with a guy named Dennis Nordman. Dennis is still making pinball machines to this day. And it was his idea to do a science fiction movie as a video game, as a Laserdisc game. At Williams, John Newcomer, creator of Joust. We did Joust 2 together. We also worked on an unreleased game called USSA, which is a great story into itself. Kanya Yamamoto is a guy who made Mad Planets, but he also worked at a company called Pixelab, and we developed a video game system together that became the game Exterminator eventually. So, and then at Williams, I worked on these games which were successful. T2, Judgment Day, shooter game, very, very successful game. The project leads on that game with George Petro and Jack Hager, both amazing, talented guys. And the T2 team basically stayed together for Revolution X. And then there were the guys who designed the hardware. Jun Yum is a guy who created Gottlieb's sprite-based system. Mark Lafredo did all the VLSI, the blitting chips, the high-speed chips to transfer images to the screen. And Without him, my digitizing work to get photorealistic graphics would never have worked. He's the guy who gave us the ability to have multiple palettes of 256 colors at once. Amazingly talented guy. Any of these guys could be up here. Any of these guys could be up here. And maybe one year they will be. But for now, I'm here. And I just want to thank everybody who nominated me. I want to thank Jerry Byram. I want to thank Bill for that fantastic introduction and for his hospitality and driving me around while I'm here. I want to thank all of the board members and the members of the Hall of Fame committee. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for letting me get to know you a little bit and for including me in this very illustrious group of people who have made genuine contributions to the world of video games. Thanks.
The humanoid must not escape.
Oh, okay. Esteemed members of the board, current and past inductees, and finally, the founder of this organization, Mr. Walter Day. I'm proud and here to accept this honor because this is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me in my life. I love video gaming. Coming to Ottumwa in that cold November of 1982 actually changed my life. And I want to make sure you understand that it is an honor to be here. Our numbers may be small, but you know, the people that are here are dedicated. That I appreciate about every one of you. The Bertlows, the way they've been running the arcade today. Julie in the museum. The children. All these folks have really just made this event wonderful and possible while we're here. And, you know, this has really been a banner week for me. Here I am on Saturday night being inducted into the International Video Game Hall of Fame. And on Wednesday of this week, I'm sitting alone, minding my own business, and all of a sudden I get a text from the President of the United States. What a week. Okay. I thought I was special. Okay. Well, anyway, wanted to cover a few things here a little bit differently than, you know, I would normally tell you about things, but let me just take some of my notes here, which I've changed during this whole thing. One thing I want to reiterate is being up here as an inductee requires, it's an honor, of course, but it requires responsibility from this point on. Everyone cherishes this honor. I can tell you I cherished it for years, just like everyone else did. Few receive it because of time constraints, but fewer perform it once they receive it. So we as inductees have a responsibility to carry the banner of video gaming forward from this point on. As far as particulars of this, of knowing what my achievements were and whatever, I would rather you watch me play than me tell you about what I've done. Of course, Berserk and Frenzy I love, and I love the marathon. Don't know why I have that crazy gene in me, but I love to marathon. I'm in the 50-hour plus club, and I've been over 40 hours 14 different times. And with this man in the white suit here, I share an honor. At the end of 1982, the goldenest year of the golden age of gaming, we each had 5 video game world records. To me, he had the most popular, and you see where he's made his hair grow and everything. Mine's starting to fall out, and I had a harder game. So I appreciate being in that category with Bill Mitchell. He's a wonderful guy and a wonderful friend, and I appreciate him. In addition to that, I've got to travel with Walter and Billy for the last several years, going to events and so forth around the country. It's taken me to 41 different states, through them, in them, around them. And I've got to meet a lot of people just like all of you. A lot of people here have traveled from many different states, many different countries. And that's because what Walter founded, what Jerry is continuing, has touched so many hearts and lives because video games are great. Some of these shows I go to, people come up to me at the table while Walter and Billy are out being Walter and Billy. Now, that's another story altogether, being Walter and Billy. But I'm there at the table, and I had a woman that came up to me one time recently, and she said, I hate video games. That's all my husband does. And I said, why do you hate video games? Because that's all he does. I said, do your children like them? My children love them, and they love him because he plays with them all the time. I said, where does he have them at? She said, in the basement. I said, okay. I said, does he go bowling? No. Does he go golfing and spend hundreds of dollars a month on golfing? No. Does he go out drinking and carousing possibly with other women? No. I said, what's your problem? I said, your husband's home, being a father, getting his children to laugh, and you're there upstairs pouting probably. Oh, she didn't like that. But I have kind of been known to say what I think. Anyway, we talked for about 15 minutes, and she finally realized that she should get out there and try to play instead of being so hateful about video games. Come to find out that she tried to play Ms. Pac-Man one time back in the 80s, and she wasn't very good at it, so she hated them ever since. So video games bring families together, great friends together, people like us, people like you together. And I love the idea of ambassadors that Jerry introduced, because as inductees, we've accomplished quite a bit of things, as well as in video gaming. But our responsibility doesn't end with this award. It's just a new beginning for us. We need to go out and tell others. We need to keep this hobby going. We need to keep we want our grandchildren to be a part of this. We want our friends to be a part of it. And by helping with the Hall of Fame, we may be inducted. Those of us up here tonight may be inducted, but you're infected or you wouldn't be here on a Saturday night. So what I'm asking you to do is the same thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to double down and try to help this Hall of Fame. Michael Klug quoted a verse out of the Bible that I quoted all the time a while ago. Iron sharpens iron as one friend sharpens another. We can help each other, help Jerry and the Hall of Fame if we put our minds to it. There's also another verse that I want to bring forth. It's out of Zechariah chapter 4. And what it says is simply this: do not despise small beginnings. This is a small beginning, but it's a good beginning. And the verse continues, do not despise small beginnings, because rejoice when you see the plumb line in the master's hand as he builds. This thing is going to build. This thing is going to get bigger. The plumb line is the level that is used to, anybody knows anything about construction, to increase something, to build it from the ground up, all the way to the roof. So as Jerry holds the plumb line, we're going to help him. I would rather this induction be about the Hall of Fame than me. If you see me play, you see me play. I think I can do my job if you see me play. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you about all the things I've done. I love video games. And I have loved and have found so many dear friends as I've gone around the country. And with these two right here, I had experiences that would give a book. Billy Mitchell has saved me from a traffic ticket and going to jail in California. Walter Day has saved me right here in Iowa by not even being in the car, but his picture on a paper, on newspaper in the front seat saved me from getting a ticket. So I've had a lot of interesting experiences, believe me. But Todd, I asked you to pull up something. This is a letter that I received from Twin Galaxies back in 1982, and it shows the, so I was the first person to ever have 2 letters from us. I have more letters that show that I had 3, 4, and 5. And of course I had 5 in 1982. This letter right here, I think it's valuable. I've been asked to give it to so many different places. I decided that I'm going to donate this letter, to this museum here because it belongs here in Ottumwa. It came from Ottumwa, and we should come back to it. Okay? I was going to give it to a grandson. My grandson Jason inspired me to double down in video gaming some years back. When he was 5 years old, and now he's 16. When he was 5 years old, he sat on my knee, and I was playing some games with him on the computer. And I told him about what had happened here in the early 80s with myself and some of the things I accomplished. That's why I don't like talking about myself much, because he set me straight pretty quick. He said, "Papa, that's great." 5 years old. "Papa, that's great. Well, what have you done lately?" And so I do promise that I've had some health problems recently, some severe ones, but I'm going to recover, and I'm going to still go for that 100-hour continuous video game without a break marathon. Okay, and it's going to be relatively soon, but not right now. I'm still recovering. But I wanted to let you know that you are important people to be here tonight. Every one of you. Every one of you. We have a lot of great people inducted tonight, a lot of great different variations of video gaming. And some of you here are what you would consider just fans. But there are no unimportant people in this place tonight. There are no unimportant people watching the stream. If we all buckle down, we can make this thing grow and build up and become even greater. And our memories can be even more sacred in the future. The legacy of Walter Day and now Jerry Byron can continue to grow. And we can be a part of that. So I challenge all of you to do that. I ask for you to do that, and it'll be a wonderful thing. Thank you for this honor. This is the greatest thing that I can remember except the birth of my grandchildren. Thank you very much.
Intruder alert, intruder alert. Destroys all humanoids. The intruder must not escape.
Capcom presents Marvel vs. Capcom.
Okay, so last year I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I thought that I would never get a greater moment than that. But I don't want to try to marginalize my own induction last year, but I think this induction is a little bit better and more closer to my heart than myself, and that is the induction into the International Video Game Hall of Fame, class of 2017, Justin Wong. Justin Wong is as I said earlier, when we did his poster induction, is a Chinese-Japanese-American who started playing video games from the Super Nintendo, which then led him into the arcades. Chinatown Fair represented the East Coast for a very long time. And he played a multitude of different fighting games. In 2001, when Evolution World Fighting Game Championships was called Battle at the Bay, in 2001, he won his first Fighting Game World Championships. The following year, in 2002, he won his second one. I heard of him through one of my players called Sanford Kelly from the Ark, because they used to go to the same arcade and play against each other. And that's when Sanford brought him over and introduced me to him. And I don't want to bother you guys with the long story, because there's a lot of craziness goes on in New York, but He eventually joined my team in 2003, and that's when Battle at the Bay changed their name to what we now know as EVO Worlds, which is the largest fighting game tournament in history and on the planet currently running. From there, Justin's first esports team was Empire Arcadia. He went on to win 5 Evolution World Championships, becoming the #1 fighter in the world. Behind him, obviously, was Daigo, but Justin dominated the scene like no other person in the history of fighting games throughout the entire continent. In 2010, Justin had a greater opportunity with a new esports team called IVGHOF, and he moved on to that team, and he moved out to the West in California, and where he won 2 more Evolution World Fighting Game Championships under EG. And that was like 2014, when he won Marvel vs. Capcom 3. In 2017, Justin moved on to join what he is now in right now, Team Echo Fox, which right now is dominating the competitive scene in esports like hardcore. And Justin was inducted into the Guinness Book of World Records and known and acknowledged as and awarded as the fighting game player that has won the most World Fighting Game Championships at EVO. No other player in the world has won more than Justin. And second to him is Daigo, but that's why Daigo is second. So I'm honored that Justin has been recognized by the International Video Game Hall of Fame. And I'm honored to be here for Justin, to introduce him here. But although Justin could not make it, to be very honest with you, I spoke with him, and who better else to accept his own award than Justin Wong.
What's up everybody, this is Justin Wong, and I'm making this video for the International Video Game Hall of Fame. I just want to say thank you for inducting me to be part of your just amazing moment and getting this award for just my accomplishments in video games. I never thought I would make it this far. It was just a hobby at first, growing up playing at Chinatown Fair, my local arcade, and went from there winning tournaments and winning world tournaments and just so much more, just going to all these events, working for the industry, just trying to make a difference in the world of gaming. And it means a lot to me that a lot of people look up to me, and just getting this award just makes me really feel really happy. So really, once again, thank you for just the gesture of just picking me. It's just so surreal, and I hope to see you guys soon. I hope to come next year. Hope my schedule gets not hectic, so I could just do more for the community. And because I love gaming, I love all of you guys, and anyone that just loves gaming is just a friend in my heart. Thanks again.
Well, thank you to the city of Ottumwa. I don't think there's ever been a David Crane Day anywhere except maybe the day I was born, but I wasn't too alert for that. So I appreciate this very much. Thank you. And Walter, for your kind words, and the two bills, our two bills here. Unfortunately, you didn't leave me much to say. I stand here as the inductee for the Lifetime Achievement Award, which arguably means I'm up here for no reason whatsoever, except that I'm old enough to be given a Lifetime Achievement Award. Everyone else's award says something that they did, Each award has a name. This is just for my achievements. But I am a video game developer. Yes, I've started a number of companies, including Activision. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people kind of what I have always done is I've had a vision for something. I wanted to have fun and make games that are fun for me to play. I'm somewhat selfish in that aspect. I didn't think so much about what would be fun for you to play. I thought of what would be a game that I would like to play. And fortunately, I made the game and other people liked it as well. And so many of my games were sold in the numbers of millions to people who enjoyed playing them. But my real legacy is probably the people I've worked with over the years. I won't bore you because the numbers are in the hundreds, if not near the 1,000. And what I tried to do generally is there was always a drive in me to make the next game. You know, I tried not to rest too much on my laurels with a game that was successful, but really I was tired of that game. I was done with that game. Come up with something new. So that's really what I was doing almost every day of my life. And what I'm most proud of is people come back to me, and there are so many people who worked with me in this business who then went on to make games, who then had hundreds of people work with them and go on to make games. And there's an exponential trail leading back to those early days at Activision of people having an effect in the video game business. And basically what we did is we took whatever profits we got from video games and we poured them into the next game. And hundreds of us were all just making a living, making games and enjoying ourselves and making other people happy. So if there's nothing else that I can say is I had a successful career entertaining people. There are a lot of ways to make money, and if you can do it by entertaining people, I think it's a great thing. So it's been a long night of speeches. I won't bore you with any more than that, but I appreciate being inducted here. I was very happy to be here in Ottumwa and see the beginnings of this museum, and I'll be able to think back on the humble beginnings as the museum continues to grow. Thank you.
Yeah, so Hall of Fame is done, Walter. You got to set up for next year. Gonna be here?
Well, I probably will be here because I'll be here under member emeritus status, someone who's giving spiritual support. But you know, this was a very important year because we had some very, very wonderful people who were inducted, like Carrie, Swidecki, Warren Davis, David Crane, Joel West, Mike Klug, Justin Wong. Some very significant people were added to the roster of the, and the induction list of the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is becoming more and more prestigious, more and more recognized worldwide as being an important receptacle for gaming history and for honoring all the luminaries of gaming history. So how does that relate to me and my own personal destiny? The legacy of the Hall of Fame is now pretty set. I can see that. And there's a wonderful, wonderful staff of people who are doing hands-on the development of it, and many, many people now like yourself who spiritually uplift it and guard it and safeguard its destiny. So that's very important. And I too will have some sort of relationship, and that I'll help, safeguard the legacy as it develops more and more and more. But for me personally, because as Billy Mitchell has publicly said many, many times, 32 years now I've been saying, well, I got to go out and do my music, and so I'll be leaving this soon. And it really come to the time now that my heart's desire, one of the most important things I could possibly finish in this life, is to do all this music that I hear playing in myself. I had a pretty girlfriend, 30 back in 1985, and one night she called up and she said, Walter, I secretly have been seeing a friend of yours. So needless to say, we broke up that night, but it caused so much heartache, heartbreak, that suddenly within about a week after breaking up, I started hearing music playing. It's like inside my heart here. Music playing and lyrics and melodies and orchestrations, and sometimes you could even say completed songs. And it was like listening to a radio play. So I've been completely devoted to the idea that these songs, which amounted to 138 different songs with their own distinctive melodies and harmonies and everything, that I would actually play these and hopefully personally sing these too. So I have that as my personal goal to actually go out and do that music. And as a sidebar on that, some of these songs fit into a musical that I'm writing, an actual stage play musical where there's a plot, which they call the book, and there's lyrics, which they call the libretto. There's dialogue they call the libretto, and so I just really want to go and do this musical and all this music, and that's my heart's desire. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on a lot. So I won't be the main person, no longer pushing the Video Game Hall of Fame, because there's an incredible crew now who do it. Jerry Byram, Billy Hoffman, Terry Bertlow, Jenny Bertlow, Michael Dudley, Dennis Bartlett, and wonderful people who are there to support them, and so many other ways like Triforce Johnson, Billy Mitchell, and Michael Klug, and many, many other people who just love the project and want to see it grow and be nourished, and essentially become even more and more as time goes on, literally the crossroads of the video game age.
One second. So, well, pretty much that's it. You've pretty much done it. How long has this been? 81 till what?
So it's 37 years.
37 years?
37 years ago, I opened up Twin Galaxies, and I did it because I loved playing video games so much. But I was also completely involved and intrigued with the idea of excellence in gaming. And excellence in gaming could be determined by the high score. And so that's why I was so devoted to logging and being a statistician for high scores, and then making the rules that we could use so we could establish what the genuine high scores were, and crowning the champions, and enforcing the rules, and having contests. So all that stuff started all those years ago, and the people who say that that is the birth of esports, I agree with them. I don't think there's any other organization anywhere that established game playing as a sport and actually rendered it as a sport, with teams and players and statistics and rankings and rules and crowning them and having contests. So it was a very, very significant thing to unveil for the video game populace.
Okay, Walter. Well, thank you for everything you've done. I really appreciate it.
Very honored.
Not as much as me. I'm definitely honored that you've done all of this for us. So you're heading home now?
I'm going home now.
All right, guys. Walter Day. The final stepping down.
Yep.
Stepping down. All right. Well, guys, that ends the class of 2017 for the International Video Game Hall of Fame. It was worth the trip down here. As you can see, galaxy of gaming, old school arcade and pinball for Ottumwa, Iowa. And IVGHOF is trying to preserve a very much needed aspect of gaming's history. Gotta find a way to get that to Justin. He definitely deserves that. He should have been in here like in 2015. But I'm glad Jay got it. He really deserves it. He's been doing some big things. He's moved on to another team, and he just continues to strive in excellence. And wow, this was a lot, man. Next year, we'll see who gets put on the nomination list, and we'll see you guys next year. I'm calling it a day. I am beat. This was a big night. That was a lot of work. But take care, guys. See you next vlog.
Old School Gamer covers arcade and retro gaming, gives you gaming history, and it lets you know what conventions are happening. Issues come out once every other month. Plus, a website full of even more, and it's all for just $30 a year. Visit oldschoolgamer.com and subscribe now.